Hi, friends. All right, I'm going to just play with this here a little bit. Hi. Welcome to Real Talk Mondays. Okay, this is fun and I'm excited. Don't mind like all of this that I got going on today. I'm a bit of a hot mess and it's later than I thought that I would come live to do this. But you know what? That's just how my day went today. I got out of work late. We were running behind the whole day, so that's just how it went. Hey, Heather, how's it going? So when you guys hop on, say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching live, hit live in the comments. If you're watching this in the replay, hit replay in the comments. If you guys hear anything in this that you love, hi Liz, hi Elizabeth. Hey Joe, how's it going? Say hi in the comments. The more you guys interact and comment on these videos, the more Facebook will show them to people. And so that's why I'm always encouraging you guys, if you hear something you like or whatever, to, comment, share, hearts and likes and all that kind of stuff, because sharing is caring. So tonight, I wanted to talk about so every Monday, I'm going to start trying to come live every Monday and just kind of talk about something that's been on my mind for the week. So most people, I think of me as being a very outgoing person, very loud, very vocal, which I am, but I also tend to be a bit of an introvert at times. And I'm a very deep thinker when it comes to certain things, and like I ponder about a lot of stuff. And I think that kind of plays into a little bit of me being a nurse. And so I'm like constantly always have things going on in my head. Like I always joke that if they could have a camera or a microphone of everything that's going on in my head all day long, it could be 5 sitcoms in one. It's a mess up here. But I'm constantly always thinking. And so I was like, I should start doing a weekly live where I just kind of talk about stuff with you guys. Hey Ginger, how's it going? Because I love books, I love podcasts, I love autobiographies, and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm constantly trying to learn and evolve and, I don't know, open my mind and my perspective on things and stuff like that. So this last week, when I was trying to think of something to talk about, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? I got a lot of things up here. And there was a lot of things that happened this week. One of them that I was thinking about talking about was this like crazy road rage situation between two other people when I happened to be on I-25. And these two people almost caused about 10 different car accidents because they were literally fighting each other in their cars and trying to run each other down on the highway. And I'm just like, what is going on right now? Like, this is nuts. And had I not been on the phone with a phone call I could not get off of, I would have straight up called the police. Like, it was nuts. So that happened. There was a lot of stuff that happened kind of with distributors in my company this week. And then one of the girls in our chat had a friend of hers who was like in her mid-30s, kids, married, family basically just found her, collapsed on the ground and dead in the house, and which is awful. And but she was like super devastated and shocked and was like, how does this happen? And the more I was thinking about all of these things, like a lot of these things kind of tie into each other when it comes to the idea of perspective. And perspective is a very interesting thing because it's different for everybody. And I actually found this really great quote that I want to read you guys. Hey babe, how's it going? My husband's literally downstairs watching football right now, watching me do this. Is there a commercial on, babe? Is that what you're doing? By the way, you guys, I'm coming live in my future office. I'm very excited. I've been Pinteresting. What are you doing? Why are you giving me ugly faces? You're a turd butt. There's gonna be no nice time for you later if you keep that attitude up. I'm just saying. Oh shoot, can I not? I don't think I have Instagram on my iPad. Hey, Victoria, how's it going, girl? Babe, quit giving me the ugly faces. Why are you giving me ugly faces? You gotta give me happy faces and heart faces. That's not cool. That's not cool. Okay. Let me see if I can get logged in here to my Instagram account. Sorry, I should have had this pulled up before I came live. Continue as Heidi. My dog right now is walking around this room sniffing every little corner because he hasn't, like, basically all the furniture is moved out of here, and I gotta keep an eye on him, make sure he doesn't start marking corners. Oh, excuse me, I just ate like 5 pounds of pizza and I have got like the serious burps right now. Okay. So I found this really great quote today about perspective that I put on my Instagram. So if you guys don't follow me on Instagram yet, do. But I like to post a lot of quotes and like thoughtful, reflective things that I've either listened to or read. And so like every couple of days, I post a really good quote on my Instagram, on my feed. So my Instagram feed is just Rocky Mountain Beauty, if you want to follow me on there. But the quote that I posted on my Instagram feed today was, empathy begins with understanding life from another person's perspective. Nobody has an objective experience of reality. It's all through our own individual prisons. And that is so true. I was like that. It rang so true for me because nobody really truly does have an objective experience of reality. Because really your reality and your views on what's happening is all based on what's happened to you, right? And is based on how you grew up, interactions that you've had with people. Like, for instance, maybe interactions that you've had with healthcare providers or the police or, you know, whatever it may be that really shapes what your perspective is. And I think that as a nurse, one of the really interesting things in that I feel like, or even just as a healthcare provider in general, but especially a nurse, because people are so open with us and because we are at the bedside and taking care of people all the time, that I get exposed to a lot of different people and a lot of different stories. And the more people you meet and the more stories you hear, the wider my perspective gets. And I always find it really interesting when people get really fired up like that. And I used to be that way. And nowadays I'm a much more like tamer person. Sorry, those were sexy smirky faces. Okay. Hey, Ashley, how's it going? And it's like that whole road rage thing, right? Like that, like their perspective in that moment driving down the highway is that this person is purposefully trying to get in my way, or I'm going to, you know, teach them a lesson or whatever it is. While I'm sitting back there and in my perspective, I'm looking at that going, a kid in our church who was like 18 years old literally died last year from a woman and road rage who ran him off the road and killed him. So I'm sitting there looking at this going, oh my God, these people are going to kill someone because of their crazy aggressive driving. And that's my perspective because of, now I'm woke. You and me both, babe. And I'm real woke. And, but it's just interesting because my perspective is very different than maybe somebody else's perspective. And I think a really important thing to remember is that just because your perspective isn't necessarily the same as somebody else's perspective doesn't mean that everyone's point of view doesn't necessarily, doesn't honor respect and isn't valid per se. Because just because like I hear somebody say something about one thing and I don't necessarily believe it because it's never happened to me, doesn't make their opinion any less valid than mine. So in life, when you are faced with certain situations where you find yourself getting really riled up and really like, how can this person think this way? How can this person act this way? How could this person even do this? I encourage you just to take a breath and take a moment and step back and just maybe try and understand what their realm of perspective may be, because it may really blow you away when you really dive deep into that and get to maybe understand the root or the cause of where they're coming from. You know, as a nurse and as a healthcare provider, like my husband can attest to, you know, we, and especially nurses, are sort of bound by a moral code that no matter who you are and what you've done, we treat you the same. And I don't know if a lot of people can do that. Like, I've had to take care of kids that have been set on fire, beaten, raped, you name it, and then turn right around and take care of the person who did it to them. And treat them the exact same way that I would treat everybody else. And it's incredibly hard. I mean, it is probably one of the most morally and emotionally difficult things that you can do as a human being, is to treat somebody who is, you know, a rapist, a pedophile, an alcoholic who, you know, treats you like trash and calls you every horrible name you've ever been called in your life. And their opinion, some people are just mamby-pamby asshats. That's my husband, and he has compassion fatigue. I would disagree, babe. I would say that everyone's opinion at least is worth being heard and is at least worth looking at from their point of view. I'm not saying you have to agree with it. You can still think that they're an asshat and a mamby-pamby, but, and there's plenty of times when I sit there and think that, oh my God, where did you even find that? That is, that's you, babe. That is literally you driving. By the way, my husband has total road rage issues and it bothers me. I'm just going to throw that out there. Hey, Allie, how's it going, babe? And you do, babe. But the next time that, see now, squirrel, you're getting me off topic, babe. So what I'm saying though with that is, I don't know how that person got there, right? Like, I don't know how... Like, I don't know the things that have happened to them in their life. Hey, Jackie, how's it going? I don't know the things, her different than respect. You know, and for me, being a little bit of a faith-based person, you know, thou shalt not judge. And it's really easy to do. I do it every day. I judge people based on what they look like, on what they're wearing, on the way that they speak to people. Like, I judge people on a daily basis. But when it comes to, that's why I drink. But when it comes to, you know, doing what I do, it gives me a really interesting perspective on the, I'm talking about perspective, Allie, and how it plays such a huge role in all of our lives, and how when you hear something that somebody else has said or done, or you react to something that happens, that before you jump on that initial emotional reaction, that you should just take a breath and step back and look at what their perspective may be, because your perspective is completely different than somebody else's perspective. And that by trying to understand somebody's perspective better will, I mean, ultimately only helps each other have more love and more respect for each other. And, you know, some of the really terrible people that I have had the privilege of taking care of through the ER, I don't necessarily respect them, and I certainly don't like them or love them. But it definitely gives me an interesting perspective sometimes, and a little bit of insight, and maybe a little bit more empathy. Because empathy is a key word here, right? When it comes to perspective. That having perspective and looking at somebody else's perspective is what really allows us to have empathy for somebody else. So for instance, if somebody comes in who beat the crap out of their wife and is now in handcuffs, and I now have to take care of them because they have cuts on their hand, and I have to basically heal, like treat them before they go to jail. You know, if I hear their background and their life story about how, you know, he grew up, his mom was drug addicted, his dad was an alcoholic, he was beaten his whole childhood, grew up on the streets, has never had like an ounce of love in their entire life, and is probably, you know, an alcoholic or doing drugs or whatever, it doesn't necessarily make it okay what they did. It's never okay. But it certainly just makes me kind of have more perspective on how somebody gets to that point in their life. You know what I mean? And just like, huh, wow, that's crazy. And empathy is not a very common characteristic these days. And I think it's interesting because you can be empathetic without necessarily agreeing with somebody. You know what I mean? Like, you can still look at somebody and say, man, that was rough. Like, it's not, you don't agree with them and you don't necessarily like what they did, or you don't like what they have to say or whatever, but you can at least look at them as a person and on some human level connect to that and say, man, if my life was like that, you know, how would I be? And one of a really, really fascinating documentary series that I watched on Netflix was called I Am a Killer. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It is so good. Like, Taco, if you watch this, if you haven't seen that show, you've got to watch it. But basically what they do is they interview a bunch of people who are on death row. And they allow them to tell their story on whether or not they're guilty. And some of the people, you're sitting there going, wow, maybe that guy's not guilty. Like, maybe this guy got in there like totally on circumstance. And then other people, you're like, yeah, bro, good luck on that one. Because you totally did this and you're a horrible person. But then there's other people on the show, angry people. We're deep tonight. I'm telling you, girl, I'm going deep on these talks. Like, Real Talk Monday is going to be like deep thought shit. Like, I have literally been thinking about this for 2 days and what I wanted to talk about. And so I was really happy when I saw just a way that all of this kind of tied into itself. A moment of patience and a moment of anger will save 100 moments of regret. Did you just Google that, babe? Because that's really good. And I don't feel like I've ever heard you say that. But that's actually a really good saying. So if you did just Google that, amen. Because that's a great quote. A moment of patience and a moment of anger will save 100 moments of regret. And that's absolutely true. And I tend to run a little hot-blooded, and I'm a very I can be a very emotionally reactive person. And so I know for me, if I have something happen that is very emotionally charging for me, I never make a decision, Dr. Google, I know, right? I never make a decision on anything until I sleep on it. Until those initial reactionary emotions are gone. Because a lot of times what we feel as our initial reaction is anger. But what's interesting is that anger is not actually a primary emotion. You have certain emotions that are primary emotions and then others that are secondary emotions. Anger is actually a secondary emotion. Sadness and hurt is a primary feeling. So usually what happens is people react with anger when really they're hurt. And it's that secondary emotion that they identify with more that is masking that primary emotion, which is usually hurt and sadness. 380 days to react. Yeah. And listen, I tell Doug all the time, like if he's done something that really pissed me off or something that, I'm mad about, doesn't even necessarily have to be him. It's usually him. But, but like a lot of times I will just tell him, I made it up myself, put the judgy eyes away. Love you. But I'll tell him like, yes, I'm mad. I don't play the passive aggressive, I'm fine bullshit. That does not work, ladies. Okay, first off, don't play that game because that shit does not work. That is not a healthy reaction to and not a great communication skill. But a lot of times, like if I'm upset about something, I'll tell Doug, yes, I'm mad, I'm upset, but I don't really know how I feel about it. And I need like a day or two to process my feelings, and then we can talk about it. Because I don't want to say anything that I'm going to regret in the moment. And a lot of times, 9 out of 10 times I've learned about myself, in 2 days, I don't feel the same way that I do right now. So I like to give it like 48 hours to just marinate. Let those feelings and emotions marinate in me and see where I'm at with that. And then we can sit down and have like a rational conversation about it and really just talk about, okay, this is where I'm coming from. Like this was the root of what hurt me or what made me react or whatever. And then you can have a much more productive conversation. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is some free counseling advice. That was you can Venmo me your $150 for that counseling session right then and there. So, but look for productive ways to communicate. That's all I'm saying. But again, when you're able to have conversations like that, it allows, like my husband, to have better perspective on where I was coming from. If we just have like a knockdown, drag out argument of like, I'm pissed and slam my door and you hurt my feelings, he doesn't know where that's coming from. He doesn't know what I'm talking about. Like he's just like a hot mess. So by being able to have like conversation, I think that it is so hard nowadays, especially for my generation. It's funny because I'm 35. Well, I'll be 35 this year, but I personally and like emotionally and sort of maturity level wise identify with a much older crowd. Like, so most of my friends and most of the people I hang out with are in their 40s and 50s. I think it's just where I'm at in my life. And I had to grow up really, really fast as a child. And I've been a professional for 15 years and have had, marriage and stepkids and all this stuff since I was 25. And so I've always grown up really fast. So I personally identify with a much older, mature crowd. But I definitely feel like it's much more difficult for people my age and my generation and even younger to be able to have just conversation, just open, legitimate conversation where you're listening to the other person. And here's the thing, when you're having a conversation with somebody, and if you're already thinking about how you're going to rebuttal what they're saying, you're not listening. Okay? You're not. So don't even try to tell me that you are, because you're not. So the next time you're sitting down having a conversation with somebody and all you're doing is sitting there thinking about your rebuttal, slap yourself in the face mentally and be like, bitch, stop it. And listen to what they're saying. Because everyone's perspective is different and they may have one or two little nuggets that might kind of open your eyes on something or open your point of view on something. And I feel like, especially for my generation, it is so hard to just have open conversation about anything, whether it be politics, religion, women's rights, race rights, like you name it. And people cannot have just a calm conversation and truly listen to what the other person has to say. Because all we're thinking is, I'm right. what I think is right and what my view is. If you don't think the way that I think, then I'm out. I'm done. And basically when you do that, I mean, you're being really close-minded actually. Like a lot of people, I find it so ironic how so many people think that they are, just incredibly open and educated and evolved people, but yet when somebody tries to have a conversation with you, if you can't sit there and listen and legitimately listen to what they have to say and their perspective, you're not an open person and you're not open-minded, because all you're doing is sitting there thinking that they're wrong. And not everybody's right. Okay? Who in this chat right now or who's live, give me a thumbs up or a hand if you were right all the time, because nobody is. Nobody's right. Nobody has the perfect insight to reality, right? Nobody does, because nobody has experienced all the experiences that there are to be had in this world right now. So it's impossible to have like the perfect opinion on anything. It just is. And so I encourage you as my friends to, the next time you get really, hey Claudia, how's it going? The next time you get really like riled up about something, right? Just take a pause, step back a minute, and maybe talk to that person. Ask them their background. Ask them how they grew up. And just try to find out a little bit of perspective on where they're coming from, and maybe gain a little bit of empathy for somebody that you would normally just completely write off. And just genuinely sit down and have a conversation with them. And don't think about your rebuttal, and don't think about how you're going to argue with them and prove how you're right and they're wrong. Just listen. And you never know. You might really learn something. And you don't even have to necessarily learn something, but maybe it'll just broaden your perspective. And maybe it won't. And maybe you'll be like, I was so right about that person. Or, or whatever. But I guarantee you that in every interaction that you'll ever have with somebody, there will always be one little tidbit of nugget somewhere along the lines that will make you a better person, that will make you reflect on your own personal life, make you grateful for the things that you have, and just make you so much more appreciative. And by doing that and gaining more empathy for people around you will make you a better person. And so, cheers, guys. Okay, this is my sleepy time tea. That is my thoughts for tonight. I hope it wasn't too much of a crazy ramble. I get off on these tangents. Like literally, guys, this is what goes on my brain, like 24/7. I cannot shut it off. I will be in the shower having conversations or playing out scenarios in my head. Like it happens 24/7. Exactly, Claudia. So anyways, thanks for listening to my ramble, guys. I hope you guys really like these. I'm going to start trying and doing them like every Monday. So I'm going to be putting a lot of thought into these. And if you guys like this video and you think that you have friends who would like it as well, tag them, share the video, anything like that. Thanks for watching, Ashley. It's so fun to hang out. Ashley, I really hope you're coming to seminar because I really want to see your face and I want to give you a big fat hug. Please tell me you're coming to seminar. I really want you to. Come hang out with me. Also, how cute is this that I painted? I did this with our lipstick group on like a sippin' paint thing around Christmas time for like a holiday get together. Isn't this like the cutest thing ever? Bye, Claudia. I hope you feel better, babe. I know that sucks. All right, guys. Well, feel free to comment if you totally disagree with me and you're like, bitch, please. You're high right now. You don't know what you're talking about. And I totally disagree. I don't care. Put it in the comments. Let's talk. I'm down to have a conversation and chit chat. That's how I roll. And That's what my life is all about. My job is a series of long conversations with people. So, and I get to learn people's like deepest, darkest tidbits. So, that is my life. So let's talk. I talk with some very unsavory people. So anyways, I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you love this, again, share it, like it, whatever. And I'll hopefully catch you guys all next Tuesday. Or next Monday, not Tuesday. Next Monday. All right, guys. Have a good night.